I have a 2008 Forester FXT Sport. It's actually my girlfriend's car. Uh, and last year, maybe it was the year before, I got her these JDM STI Forester seats. And they're really nice, a lot more comfortable than the factory ones. And the front bolt right in, you have to do a little bit of modifications to swap the airbag sensor thing over to the passenger side. And you can swap over the US rails to make the seats lower, but the rear are really tricky because they actually have sliders on them. This is the slider for this side, and as this bottom of the seat slide forward and back, so we can get a picture here. The rear of the seats will also move. These brackets down here are attached to the seat, so when the rear slides forward, this moves forward. The seat kind of does a decline. And there's no mounts on the US cars to bolt those brackets in. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and fabbed up some mounts. They're just tacked in there right now. I'm going to have my friend, who's a much better welder than I am, finish it. But just to show exactly what I did, this rear hole is already there. You don't have to touch that at all. On the front, you're going to have to build something here to give yourself a hole. This is just some pieces of steel. I think it was like $20 for a 10-foot section that I bought a long time ago. I just have scrap left over. And I drilled and tapped the holes. And the holes that I made, they're in the right location, but they're a little bit lower than I think they need to be. But I did that intentionally so I can use washers or spacers to get it where it needs to be. I'd rather have a little bit too low than too high. Over here is where I had to do another ear. There's some of this factory sound deadener stuff I had to break off, and I just chopped a little piece of steel on each side so it'd give me some space underneath for the hole. Again, that's just drilled and tapped. The rear spot is where I had to get a little bit fancy. I didn't want to drill or weld anything there. The gas tank and drive shaft and everything's under there, and I don't know what's underneath the car. So I made a bracket that actually bolts on to two factory locations. It drops down, gives me two holes that I drilled and tapped for the bolts, and then I added these two little tabs on the bottom just to reinforce it so that they're not going to sink in and people crawl over the seats and whatnot. But it's just tacked together right now. So I'm going to go to the other side. This is the slider for the driver's side. It's half the size as the other one because it doesn't cover the middle seat. This seat behaves the exact same way. Again, the rear mount, there's already a hole there. That's kind of where I started, is putting that one in and then working for the other bolt holes. Here's where one needed to be. This was already kind of the right height. It was actually probably a little bit too high. So I ground the paint off. I tapped it down just slightly with a hammer, and I drilled the hole. There was already a hole there for this clip that goes to, I think that's the rear ABS sensor. It's just a little snap in there. So I just had to drill it a little bit larger. And this is a 12 millimeter bolt that has a flange on one end. I think it probably came off a Subaru I parted. It looks like a Subaru nut. And I just sunk it in there upside down and then tacked on each side. So that's actually hollow under there. It doesn't go all the way underneath the car. And then I had to do the same thing over here. It was kind of already the right height. So I had to drill and tack it. And this one does go underneath the car. So once my friend tacks that in better, I'm gonna go underneath the car and put some RTV around the edges of it. I'm gonna paint it so it won't want to rust, and then probably when I put the bolt in here for good, I may put just a dab of RTV on the threads. I don't want any water or anything coming up there. And that's pretty much it. Those are the 8 mounting points. 2 of them you don't have to do anything to, the other 6 you do. I'll take another video shortly once the rails are in, just so I can show how they work. So I just bolted the rails in. You can see this is how they look. It kind of looks like the passenger side one, if you look straight on. I guess just looking at this one compared to this one, it would makes it look like this side is a lot higher than the other side, but it's really not. If you try to focus on this pan right here and the one on the other side, they're the same angle. And then if you look at this front bar, it kind of goes straight across and lines up with the other bar. It may not be 100% exact, but there is a little bit of play in all these bolts. I could loosen it and tuck it back some. And then here's where the rear seat things fold back. So if I slide this forward, you're going to see the rear seat move forward. So that's how it works. That's how it does the sliding. I'm going to put the cushions on and do one more video. I am going to have to take it all apart so my friend can weld it better, and then I'm going to paint everything. And then the side plastic pieces that go here, this is going to interfere with this arm, so those are going to have to be trimmed a little bit. But I think the seats are going to hide anything that I trim. Here's the last video. These side pieces actually fit right in there. I didn't have to cut anything at all. If you look under the seat, you can see there's a gap where the rails are, but you never see that getting in or out of the car. Those are the brackets to arms to move it forward and back. It's got the nice perforated leather. The backs fold down just like the normal seats. You've got the JDM armrest. Seats go forward. You can see how much it kind of reclines compared to the other one. It's got little nylon straps in there to hold these other seat belts in place. You can see the difference with this one slid forward and that one not. Let me go around the car. Slide this one forward. So now they're both reclined. It does seem like you lose a little bit of headroom when you're sitting straight up compared to the seats that came with it. But when you recline it, it gives that back and then maybe a little bit more. But they seem nice. I don't have to worry about people sitting in the back now. Before we just had the seats kind of setting there. I didn't set the rails in there when I had them like that. There's some brake lines and gas lines running under the seats, and I didn't want to risk a rail shifting and rubbing on one. But now I don't have to worry about it. They're bolted in. So let's take everything apart one more time. My buddy will weld them. I'll paint everything so it won't rust, and then assemble it, and it should be good to go.